Welcome back to NFT Talks podcast. I'm your host, Sean, and today's guest, I have Ian Utile. Now, he's been in the NFT space for a good while, but he's also a founder of a platform called Attention Live. Now, Attention Live is a platform for podcasts, and you're able to turn your podcasts into NFTs. Now, I think that's great because if you're a podcast host yourself, you will know that there isn't a lot of opportunity to monetize, especially when you're starting off, putting that content out there. So this will enable to offer more value to your listeners, but also a chance to monetize and bring in some revenue for yourself with the content you're putting out there. Now, if this is something that seems interesting to you, or you may know somebody that may be interested in listening to this podcast, please share, subscribe, and let's help build this community. Guys, welcome back to NFT Talks. I am here with Ian Utile. Now, he's the founder of Attention Live, which is a sonic streaming NFT platform. Now, in simple terms, for me to understand that, it's a podcast platform that you can do live podcast, and you can capture tokenize your audio tokens. Is that right? You can tokenize it. Yeah. Okay. And then you also got a marketplace, and then you can sell your actual NFTs. We're going to go into a bit more detail than you can explain how it actually works. But I know that stranger to the NFT space because you've been in there from, what was it, 2018? Was that around that 2018 you've been there from?
I think so. I mean, it depends. I did an event called the Future of Tech inside Twitter's headquarters in 2017.
Okay.
And that's when at first all the things are having with crypto kitty conversations, and so it's kind of like, digital collectibles, right? But then really kind of happened summer of 2018 is when things really started materializing.
Okay, you're one of the rare breeds because there's not a lot of people have been in the space. I mean, they want to speak to I've been in there for the last 2-3 months, but you've been here from the start and you've interviewed some of the most innovative people within the space. So I'm definitely going to sit here, pick your brain. There's going to be a lot of gems in this episode. So firstly, just introduce yourself, Ian. Tell them a little about yourself, your background. I want to know how you got into the NFT space and your first initial thoughts to the point of where you are now, because I can imagine that's evolved rapidly.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I like what you do with NFT Talks, Sean.
Thank you.
I appreciate you reaching out. So my introduction to the space was I've been the entrepreneur in residence for 2 big global nonprofit organizations, and the college in San Francisco and the innovation hub inside of Twitter's headquarters. And I basically have been an entrepreneur. So I start tech companies, and then, if I exit a company, I'll be like, well, I'll go be an EIR and figure out a problem that can be solved.
Okay.
So I'm in the innovation hub inside Twitter, and a couple of friends of mine that are on staff there, they're like, CryptoKitties. It's breaking the servers, and I'm trying to wrap my head around it, and I just could not understand NFTs. I go and I look at what OpenSea was doing as a marketplace. I go and I try to understand, why did Venrock infuse capital into Dapper Labs? Why did Dapper Labs not get a big licensing deal with a big, well-known global brand? Why do they have to create their own? And I'm trying to figure out, so it's like baseball cards. It's like I'm trying to get it, and I just can't figure it out.
Yeah.
So I thought I'll just have events. So I started doing these events. Like I did the future of blockchain in Twitter's headquarters. I did blockchain 2043 3 years ago over at DocuSign's headquarters. Started doing events at NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center. And then I realized, I'm not the best at executive producing events. I'm more about interviewing people and having conversations and trying to figure out what the problem is to be solved. So I jumped in and joined the folks that launched NFT.NYC, which I think is the largest NFT event in the world. And so I started doing all these pre-event interviews. So where I really figured out NFTs, this is a pretty simple concept. Like, your house has a deed, your car has a pink slip.
Yeah.
This baseball card has unlimited numbers, and this one's 1 of 100 or 1 of 10. And this stamp looks like this stamp, but this stamp's worth millions, and this stamp's worth tens of dollars. And it's simple, but it's also fairly complex to really comprehend the third-party verification system, how NFTs are created, why they're created that specific way, why there's value, why the market's responded differently to, CryptoPunks and to different types of NFTs, whether because they're older or because they're more, obscure or more valuable, and why the value is associated with it. So for me, it was interviewing people. So I got involved with NFT NYC. I started interviewing all the speakers for our event. That was February 2019. At that event, I interviewed probably 50 people before the event and another 50 people on the ground at the event. So I got 100 interviews.
Yeah.
And in that time, I just asked about them, their company, what they're doing. And I asked one question for everybody. Where do you see NFTs in 2024? And by me being able to pull from almost 100 different people 3 years ago, in terms of their perspective on where NFTs would be, I was able to kind of gather this overall consensus of how NFTs might impact art, video games, sports, media. And with that in mind, I kind of delivered this keynote on NFT 2024, which a lot of the things that was the collective predictions that I just gathered together ended up happening in the last couple of months. So I think that's been a really unique and interesting, fun way of figuring things out. And of course, because I fell in love with the concept of what NFTs could do as a function of business, as a real legitimate case use for smart contracts, because of that, I thought, you know what? I am going to bake NFTs into my media software company, Attention Live. And so it wasn't just research, which took me a long time to figure out what the hell people were talking about.
Yeah.
But it was also implementation and being a practitioner as well.
Yeah, that's very, very strategic, the way you've approached that. Especially like you didn't waste your time. You got your information, but you use that information to leverage yourself to obviously your events, and obviously here you are now, which is amazing. Okay, so how long? Just I want to know, how long did it take you to get your head around NFTs as a concept, just in general? Like when you first come across it, because it would have been very early for yourself. Like I know when I was looking, there weren't a lot of videos, and that was after you. So, and then I don't feel like there was any quality content out there. Actually, people that knew that they're actually talking about. It was just more of a thought, like NFTs, I think it's this. So how long did it take you really to actually get your head around it?
I'm still getting my head around it. I'm 10,000 hours in and I'm still getting my head around it. Again, it is really simple and really complex. So OpenSea's NFT Bible, very helpful.
Okay.
Right. The hundreds of videos that we've created at NFT NYC. So if you go to YouTube, NFT NYC, or go to NFT.NYC, the website, the YouTube videos that we've created from all the events that we've done and the pre and post interviews, our kind of guide, 100-page or so guide, super helpful. Nothing is going to help a person understand it like building technology around it. That is going to be the biggest thing. Now, if you're not a tech entrepreneur that wants to hire a team to build, or you're not an engineer that wants to build, then can you just take a photograph and go through the process of getting your photograph on Foundation? Or can you grab a whiteboard and a whiteboard pen and doodle something and take a scan and then create that as a art piece on a OpenSea, or maybe Super Rare would let you in, but they're a little selective or whatnot. So like, can you do something to participate in the industry? Because that is a really great way to learn. Or what you're doing, Sean, right?
Yeah.
To interview people, or I did and still do what you're doing for the last 3 years. I've never stopped interviewing people, right? I'll just say, hey, can I sit down with you for 5 minutes or for an hour and just ask some questions? Let's live broadcast it and create some content from it. So I think that there's just a lot of different ways, but if I could just give one way, I would say probably going on YouTube to NFT NYC is as good of a way to wrap your head around what is, if you don't want all the modern hype. If you just want to know what people talked about NFTs in the past before all the money was infused into it, that's probably the best place. If you want modern information, it kind of depends on the type of personality you want to listen to, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of brilliant people. I personally have gravitated more toward the women in the industry.
Okay.
I really like their perspective. Women just have a little bit different view of the world and technology and society and many things. So I've learned more lately just by tracking the Twitter feeds, being consistent in kind of watching what these gals are saying. And for some people, like, they love Gary Vaynerchuk. So
Yeah.
the fact that Gary's constantly pumping stuff out, and he also created VFriends, like,
Yes.
they should go there because they like Gary, right? Or some people are like, I like the anarchists, so I'm jumping in this, Discord or this Signal or this Telegram or this WhatsApp. You may not find the greatest of information on places like LinkedIn and Twitter. You'll probably find better information in more of these private environments as well. But there's not one solution that works for everybody.
I guess it's like you just said, getting involved in communities and finding your space and finding the way you want to receive information. I think it's the most important thing. Okay, so all right, so let's move on to obviously Attention Live, which is, I think, is amazing, especially because I do podcasts. So I know that when in the podcast space, it's hard to monetize unless you're advertising, especially if you haven't got a large audience. It's right. I'm not sure how you'd make money, to be fair. So this is a way of potentially monetizing your content. And podcasts are amazing. I haven't got a mass following, but I've got someone like yourself, which is amazing on the podcast. There's going to be great information about the NFT space. So it's valuable for whoever perceives it's valuable. So tell me a bit about Attention Live and where you're going.
Yeah, well, just for fun, we'll see how well this shows up on the screen. But let me just show you how simple Attention Live is for a content creator, right?
Okay.
So Attention Live, you can use any phone, any tablet, any computer. If I explained it to a tech person, I would be like, imagine if you brought together Dapper Labs with Clubhouse and HubSpot. It's one dashboard that lets you create NFTs and put them in a marketplace like a Dapper Labs, with social audio or live podcasting like Clubhouse, combined with HubSpot, the ability to mass distribute and monetize all of that content. Now, if you're not techie, then I would keep it really simple. And I'd be like, oh, it's easy to understand. Just imagine the farmer's market, live radio, FedEx, right? Because it's a decentralized marketplace, hence creating NFTs, combined with radio, live audio, and FedEx, the whole ability to mass distribute with analytics. But we put everything inside of one platform. Now, this is my 7th company, and I've built many of my companies with the same tech team. So we've gotten really good at building super complicated dashboards. Not everything works perfect. I mean, we built a minimal viable product, and then V1. And we personally kind of worked on V1 with our own private beta users. Now we just finished V2, but this is basically the way that it looks, right? So like in our case, I took a photo of you and I on Zoom, and then I want to create an NFT. And so I have all these different options of how the NFT is created. If I want to tie it to old NFTs, the colors, all these different things I can do, unlocks, time with you, time with me, access to come to this conference, or it can just be a collectible. It's one of one, or it's one of 100. So I create this token. And when the token's created, I decide what wallet I put it in. So in this case, I put it inside the Cred wallet. It's created on the Polygon chain, which allows us to create the token in real time for less than a penny. So we're not paying these exorbitant gas fees. We can move this token immediately over to OpenSea, where then it can be created as a V1 Ethereum chain token if somebody wants to pay the gas fee to make that transfer. So now the token is created. And now that that's done, I can then create a broadcast against the token. And see, the broadcast that I will create, that content of you and I talking right now will basically be tied to the token. And then you can imagine different ideas around podcasters or content creators. You could have a diamond NFT that holds all rights and all revenue goes to that diamond NFT. It's one of one. And then you can have 10 gold NFTs, right? Non-exclusive commercial rights to leverage this content any way you want. And if you're done leveraging the content because you're HarperCollins and Random House and you no longer are going to pursue that book publishing, or you're Clear Channel Communications and you don't want to broadcast it any longer on the radio, or you're CNN or Fox, you no longer want to broadcast it on your TV station, like, I'm done with the commercial purposes, you then can resell that NFT. Then you imagine like a silver NFT, maybe there's 1,000 silvers, right?
Yeah.
And that's non-exclusive, non-commercial rights. So now all of a sudden a podcaster or a content creator like you, Sean, doesn't just interview me. Now you interview me and we co-create this NFT that allows us to get our content legally into the hands of publishers and distributors to use that content. And we never have to have us contacted or our lawyers or our agents, because every time it's used based on the smart contract, triggers are pulled and there is then money that's transferred to our wallet, right? Because of what's in the smart contract. And so this automates the ability for people to make money from their audio content. Now we focus on live content, but you could come to me and say, hey, here's my first 20 NFT talks.
Yeah.
We could take these first 20 NFT talks and we can basically, fill up the funnel and create a 24-hour radio station on all the voice devices like Amazon's Echo devices and Google's Assistant devices and Samsung Bixby. And why voice? Because right now everybody's on social media.
Yes.
Right? Everybody's on LinkedIn and Facebook and Clubhouse and Twitter. But these social media companies are really, really criticized for basically being slave master institutions.
Yeah.
And for not really caring for their consumers. And so, and they're all centralized, not just in the way they treat their consumers, but also in the way they deal with money, the way they deal with benefits, right? Like you may have a post that gets 10,000 comments and 100 million views and you get really no benefit from that.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people will leave these traditional social media sites for other forms of engaging with content. And when they do that, I think voice will be a major interface. So we've made voice as the interface as a big priority, even though we send our content to YouTube and we send it to social, podcast platforms. So we're a media company that does mass distribution to every podcast, social media, voice device, and creates an NFT to automatically monetize that content for the content.
Ian, I just want to ask one thing. So as a listener, if I'm listening to a podcast, okay, so where does the money come into it? Because I'm trying to say, because as a listener, at the moment, as a listener, I can listen to any podcast on Spotify and so on. I mean, I have to pay for Spotify, but if I'm on Apple, I can listen to it on there. If everything comes off them platforms and it's produced, what you're saying, obviously on Attention Live, then is it a case of people have to pay subscription to get access to that content? Is that what you're saying? Would that be the formula?
I hope not. I mean, we're going to let our content creators make decisions for themselves and their audience.
Yeah.
But like, if you go live, which I have not yet done, but I'll press the start stream button, you can decide, do you create an NFT? Does it go live on Amazon's devices? Does it go live on YouTube? Does it go live on all these other platforms?
Okay.
So you can turn these platforms off and on. So like, I'll go live right now, right? So start stream. Well, welcome everybody. You're jumping into the beginning of a conversation I'm having with my new friend, Sean from NFT Talks. And so you get to join the conversation, but I'm talking with Sean, not you. You just get to listen. Thanks for your attention. So I'm broadcasting live now through Attention Live's YouTube channel, through our Amazon Echo device skill. I don't say the A word because it'll fire off.
Yeah.
And so people can access that on an Amazon device for free. They can go access it for free on YouTube.
Okay.
If I chose not to broadcast there and I wanted to put it on a special server where people had to pay me, that's fine. As a content creator, I can do that. The point is to give options, right? But ultimately, and see, like, this is what pops up. So right now, the YouTube URL pops up. So I can click on that, and that would be the way that people can be listening to us right now. So when it comes to how people make money, I think that right now we're in two paradigms, and NFTs are going to unlock a third paradigm. The first paradigm is, you give me your attention and I'll give you my content. It's a value exchange.
Yes.
I want your attention so bad. I want to influence you to buy my product, to buy my service, to think that I'm cool, whatever it is that's important to somebody. And if you give me your attention, and if you share this, and if you like, and if you comment, and if you engage with me, then I will give you the best of who I am for free. So that's one paradigm. Paradigm two is I'm Oprah, I'm important, and everybody knows me, and they're willing to pay me for my content. So I want to create this, and if you pay X for one-time access or X for monthly access, you can now have access to my content because I have the ability to put a paywall between me and you because I don't really need your attention. I already have the world's attention. The third paradigm I'm most excited about is the 17-year-old girl that has all the same skills and character traits and abilities of somebody like Oprah, but no audience. And I love the idea that she can herself potentially do something to get the audience to give her their attention. So this could be a lot of different forms, right? If you listen to me live, I'll give you one of my 1,000 silver NFTs, which is kind of like, I'll compensate you for your attention. And I think this is a really interesting concept. Right now, NFTs are like, I created a photograph, I created a piece of art, I put it on there, and I want you to give me hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars for this because there's only one, only 10. I think there's something to be said for, I created this content, I've created these NFTs, and the first 10, 100,000 people that engage with my content will get one of these as a value exchange. I'm not just giving you content for your attention. I'm giving you something of value, this specific special NFT of value that you could potentially leverage or resell. So I think right now we're in two paradigms. I'm a creator, pay me for my content. I'm a creator, I'll give you my content if you give me your attention. And I'm a creator and I will honor you, respect you, value you, compensate you for your attention. Now, to put a pin in this, play this out for the 3 billion people around the world that make less than $2 a day that are getting internet for the very first time. And recognize that all of them are going to have a pair of glasses sent to them with a voice interface, or they're going to have a watch sent to them with a voice interface, or they're going to have a ring or a fingernail or a little thing on their tooth or whatever the hell they get sent. And it's going to be connected to Starlink's satellites or Jeff Bezos' Origin satellites or Richard Branson's Virgin satellites, but somebody's going to win the satellite war, connect the 3 billion people that don't make any money. And then you ask, how about the first world? Will they be willing to provide value to the 2/3 world, the developing world, for their attention? And since a voice interface can translate content from English to some foreign unknown language and vice versa, a lot of the language barriers will be eliminated. So a lot of our big, broad things that we're trying to accomplish at Attention Live is around these massive ambitions around getting billions of people on this platform to create and consume content with NFTs as a major value exchange. It doesn't mean that we won't create a token for our platform, as we've talked about for years to do, to have our own, cryptocurrency in a sense to kind of make the economy run. That may be the case, but we're really focused on the one-of-one, non-fungible tokens, because there's ways that value can be added to these things, that it really opens up an unlimited number of ways that content creators can benefit their communities, and that these communities, these audiences, can engage with the content creator. And then you play it out with celebrities, you play it out with professional sports teams. It starts to get very, very exciting what can happen when you add content and NFTs with modern media.
That's crazy. Like, that's just blown my mind. The way you just, especially the way you explained it very well. And two things that I wanted to ask you. One thing is, when you're saying as a content creator, you want to give back a reward for someone listening to your content. Do you see that working with something like social tokens then? Is that like an aspect, you think?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I am always hesitant to get behind anything specific.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Like this specific cryptocurrency, this specific chain, this specific decentralized autonomous community or decentralized autonomous organization, or this specific speaker or conference. Time will tell what the market chooses. And when the market makes a decision, there will be kings and queens made, and there will be a lot of disappointed people that will not end up with return on their investment of money, time, or energy.
Yeah.
So I, especially since I have a very persuasive personality, I'm not sure if you could tell, Sean.
I'm already a buyer. Yeah. I brought into
we
it.
usually go to the restaurant I want to go to, if you know what I'm saying. So I also recognize that because I have a personality that people are like, yeah, that sounds good, I'm on board. I try not to talk about specifics, but in general, yes, the answer is yes. All these different types of approaches at creating value amongst communities and having value exchange, if we can get away from value exchange only being the pound and the yen and the dollar, or only being American stamps, British coins, right? Or only MLB baseball cards and NFL, football cards and proper football cards over in Europe, right? Like if we can get away from like these centralized governments, centralized institutions, they're the ones that decide these coins and these stamps have value. This fiat currency has value. These cards and these collectible items that have the stamp of approval, this has value. If we could get away from some of those things and the people can start to create things that are valued for the people, by the people, I think we'll be much better off as society.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you touched on quite a few things in regards to NFTs are built off community. It's built in trust. Money, even money, fiat money is a trust thing. I mean, it's paper, but we trust in it, and that's why we value it. And it's no different that what can happen for cryptocurrency can happen for NFTs. As long as a community and we trust and someone values it, it will work. And I love the fact that you're talking about the future of like people that have not even connected to the internet yet. Like I ain't heard anybody talk about that aspect. I mean, we've got pretty much half of Africa that are not connected to the internet yet, but they are soon because there are projects like Project Simba and whatnot. People are trying to connect them. So when they do connect to the internet, what is going to be there for them? And the fact that you're looking into that and potentially giving them a route to connect to the rest of the world is amazing.
Right.
Is amazing.
So think about Africa.
Yeah.
There's a large percentage of Africa that are connected. They speak a modern language. Their language is an easy language to translate between other major languages like German and French and Spanish and English. But there's also a group in Africa, sporadically throughout the continent, that don't speak a major well-known language.
Yeah.
Now ask yourself, are these computers with keyboards, are they going to be 10 fingers on the keyboard? Are you going to be given phones like we have?
Yeah.
And they're going to be 2 thumbs on a piece of glass? Are they really going to learn how to engage with technology that way? Probably not. And also they're unbanked. So are they going to go get bank accounts and start to get paychecks that go to? Probably not. So you have to ask, for the underserved, undeveloped world, unconnected from the internet, unbanked, impoverished, since they get to start from scratch, how might they engage with technology? Might it be an advantage for them to use their voice? Might it be an advantage for them to use decentralized technologies connected to decentralized autonomous organizations, be part of and create decentralized autonomous communities? Might it be an advantage for them to use cryptocurrency because they're unbanked anyways? And might it be an advantage for them to create, trade, collect NFTs, even if those NFTs are worth pennies, not hundreds of thousands of dollars? Because the major price tags on NFTs is not the end result of where NFTs are going.
Yeah.
NFTs should be able to range from pennies to tens of millions of dollars. But when you think about the underdeveloped world, a lot of the value exchange is going to be these small amounts of value that are exchanged, these nano payments, these micro payments, whether they're done through fungible tokens, like Nike might say, for anybody in the undeveloped world, we'll give you $3 in cryptocurrency if you just spend 3 hours listening to our content in English and speaking into, I mean, there's a million ways that this can happen. Like there's no limit. Yeah. But when you think about Africa as a continent, and you think about how many of our paradigms these people do not currently operate in, and we recognize that the way that we're operating with 10 fingers on a keyboard, 2 thumbs on glass, fiat currency, centralized corporations and governments making all of the decisions that we basically have to be subservient to. Well, since they don't necessarily walk into that same thing, they might become the leaders of the free world because they're starting as children, like not age, but children into this new opportunity when they
fresh
first have the internet.
So, fresh perspective.
That's right.
Yeah. It makes sense. Makes complete sense. Yeah. Okay. So that's amazing. This is why I love natural conversations like this, because we're talking about attention live, but we've gone into talking about things that are going on in Africa, the undeveloped world and whatnot. But it's important. It's important to talk about these things because these things are there. These are people. And it's opportunity for everybody. And that's what I love about NFTs, crypto and whatnot in the decentralized space, because it opens doors and I think it levels the playing grounds for a lot of people. Yes. It's just, I get that vibe of, I mean, I'm old enough when the internet came around, old enough when social media was around. I didn't really say I took full advantage of that opportunity, I can honestly say. But this space, I feel like everybody's that's in it at the moment gets that same feeling of like, this is one not to be missed because this is going to change everything, the way we do everything. What's your thoughts? Okay, let's moving on then. What's your thoughts on like things like the metaverse then, and how the virtual world, what's going to happen with NFTs in the virtual world? I'm really interested to hear your perspective of that based on what you've said to me already.
So I start with the people.
Okay.
Like the leaders. Okay, so I say to myself, what do I think about Sebastian and his team at Sandbox? So I start there. I say, okay, I met Sebastian 3 years ago and his team out of France, and I've experienced consistently nothing but positive things with him and his team. Well, see, I like to start there. I'll give you another example. I met Dirk, the co-founder of Upland, before I understood Upland as kind of like, this monopoly-esque approach to the blockchain. And I said, how do I like Dirk and his team and all that they've created in the past? So a lot of times I'll start with the people that are building out the metaverse. Okay. Now I'm not going to mention any of the people I've met that I was like not really vibing with. So I didn't lean in as much into some of the other metaverse because of that. See, if I can start with the people, then I can track, because I'm not trying to buy a bunch of land really quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, look how much land I got, or you should buy a bunch of land in this metaverse and that metaverse, or you should create in this metaverse, that metaverse, because I have the long view of it. Right now, some people might say, well, that's dumb. When you see Bitcoin for $10, you buy as much Bitcoin as you can. And if you have the long view and you missed out, it's like, okay, well, some people might miss out because they have a long, patient view. I'm trying to look at the really broad implications. 25 years from now, how will this impact the 8 billion people on the world, right? 25 years from now, how will this impact? Now, metaverse is, in my mind, a foregone conclusion. So we're going to have alternate realities that will be accessed mostly, in my mind, through augmented reality glasses.
Yeah.
So I personally believe that most of the metaverse is going to be accessed in the real world with augmented reality glasses. Now, I also believe that the metaverse environments that will have the greatest success will be fully interoperable with no barriers to take land from, as an example, Sandbox to Upland and vice versa. Now, that may not be possible today, but the spirit around that has to be in place. they have to be operating as decentralized autonomous organizations, Sandbox, Upland, etc. And they have to be operating as decentralized autonomous communities where the community of land collectors and content creators inside those places really feel like they have anonymity and the ability to be in control of their asset. I think video games is maybe going to be the most important thing that drives this, right? So as soon as you have the final fantasies of the blockchain world, you know, as soon as like Sandbox really becomes the Minecraft of the you know, blockchain world, or as once Upland really truly becomes the board game, the monopoly of the, you know, blockchain world, video games are going to just drive the metaverse, because people are going to be like, look, I made this sword, I made this shield, I made these shoes, I look at my hat, you know, did you see my clothes? And that is going to be a really big driver. And what's going to happen, I'll tell you, this is a big one for the metaverse. You're going to have a kid that starts off, she's 14 years old. And by the time she's 23, 9 years in, she's accumulated 6 figures of metaverse assets, but she's kind of done. Like she's kind of done playing in the world of metaverse. And the fact that she can take all of her metaverse assets that she's created in 1 or 100 different blockchain video games over the next 9 years, and that she can sell all of that to a new person, or break it up into 10,000 different pieces of sale and be able to extract all that value from the metaverse to use in the real world as a down payment for a house, to buy herself a car, to send herself to college. When that stuff starts to happen, Sean, then people will really start to recognize, wow, when I was a kid, I spent 10,000 hours on Final Fantasy. I spent 10,000 hours on Madden. I spent 10,000 hours mastering chess. And when I walked away, I walked away with nothing but the experience.
I'm feeling robbed.
These kids are playing games and accumulating assets. And when they're done with the game, they can just put the assets on the market. So I think that video games that empower young people to create and benefit from their creation when they're done engaging with that environment, that is going to be just the huge forerunner. You know, like the plow that hits the ground for the first time and like has to like till that ground. Or you imagine like weeds that are 7 feet tall and you got that, you know, you got that thing that's knocking down the weeds. It's so hard to do it the first time. So you have to find an easy way. You have to sharpen that machete. And the way to sharpen the machete to build the metaverse is likely going to be attached to video games, empowering young people to create content and assets that are their own, that they can then distribute and liquidate afterwards, generate revenue, extract the revenue out of the metaverse into the real world, and then say, look at me, I'm one of the 100,000 kids in Generation Z that did this thing in the metaverse and built a life both in the metaverse and out. And I think people will kind of come and go, but I think young people will drive it with video games.
It's happened though, isn't it, Ian? It's happened. We look at influencers today. It's happened. Influencers were probably laughed at many years ago. What you're doing, putting content out there. Now these guys some of them are millionaires, very wealthy individuals, just to be being the first on the platform and doing something. Because I mean, attention follows where money follows where the attention is, isn't it? That's where it is. And if the attention's on the metaverse, or whether it's your phones or whatever, like it's going to happen. And I feel that like you said, gaming is a massive industry, massive. That's right. And the amount of hours I'm in my 30s, I spent hours on games like Half-Life, Counter-Strike, Warcraft, everything. And I couldn't accumulate anything from it. But then there's the kids these days, it's a lot different, and they're spending money in there, and even the way the people are producing the games these days with buying the game, you get the game for free, but you do in-app purchases. That whole way of thinking, it just makes sense. It just makes complete sense about what you were saying and where things are going and where things are going to end up. And I feel that there's a lot. I mean, when I have conversation, not sure about yourself in your circles, but I mean, I have a circle too, also, that people have no information about crypto, not into the NFTs. I have conversations, they're like, that's crazy. That's not going to happen. That's stupid. Why would people do this? And you got to think about what are people, you just got to look at what people are actually doing. people say the metaverse is crazy, but we live in social media. We're living in a virtual world to a certain extent, I would say, because we're living in your phones. We spend a lot of time on our phones, and that's just going to evolve. So I don't know if you agree with that yourself, but I completely, I completely feel where you're coming from, and it excites me because, like I said, we're early, but like I said, it's about the right people getting into, say, power, or the right people doing the right things with that, because I feel that it can work both ways. Do you agree?
100%.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of this is the really speedy evolution of humanity as we are becoming cyborgs. So if you think about NFTs, right? So there was an artist, like I was really involved with an artist that's created about $250 million of his own artwork over the last 50 years.
Wow.
Okay, about 20,000 original paintings. His most extravagant paintings were big canvases. They were like 8 feet by, 6 feet. They were big canvases. And he'd have like 20 canvases. And he'd take 9 months to paint these paintings. So here he is, 9 months of his life is spent painting 20 paintings. Like, I don't have any idea how many hours, because he would just work 20-hour days. And he would build out these paintings with oil paint. He was like 80 layers of oil paint. Now, 9 months of his life created 20 paintings. And then he would then sell those paintings for a high dollar to collectors, or he would have them scanned to make lithographs or make posters or puzzles or coffee mugs or whatever the hell he would buy. Okay, so that was an old paradigm. And then came the new paradigm, which was strange because a lot of artists started to give their content away for free, okay, just for attention. So here he is, he's an artist, and his artistry is, I create all this art and then I get as many different versions of this art and I try to sell it to people. Give me your money and I'll give you my art. And then our generation was, well, I'm just going to create photos, create videos. Maybe I will do some painting. Maybe I will make some music, but I'm not going to charge 99 cents because nobody will pay for it anymore on iTunes. So I guess I'm just going to basically give it away for free because then people come to my concerts, and we're in this kind of broken society, and NFTs in a large part solves this. Okay, so we're having this evolution from create content, paintings, sell that to collectors, you give me money, I give this to you, to this kind of broken bridge that we're on, which is I'll create all this content and give it away for free to all these people. It doesn't matter if I'm a musician, it doesn't matter if doesn't matter. I'll create content, I'll give it away. And now we're in a paradigm with NFTs where I can now track exactly who engages with my content. So in the case of Attention Live, we're focused on audio content. So anybody that's creating audio content, their live content and their archived content. And when they put it through our system, we put it everywhere. Well, therefore we can track all of the engagement. Well, that engagement adds value to the content, right? So if a podcast gets 100,000 listens, well, then that NFT obviously has a lot more value because it's attached to an audience that's listened that much.
Yeah, just like YouTube. It's like YouTube.
Yeah, and then the NFTs can then be sold. And every single time there's a first or a secondary or a 40th or a 140th sale, the original content creator will extract a little bit of value from that. And also the content creator is empowering their collectors to extract value each time as well. So you see, the NFT is an area where every single person involved benefits.
Yes.
The content creator, the artist, the musician, the podcaster, etc. They get compensated when somebody wants to own their NFT. That collector gets compensated when they resell the NFT for a profit. And the original content creator gets benefited. So when you look at the evolution of art and content creation, whether it's paintings or music or talking on the radio, now podcasting or being on TV or now YouTubing, when you look at that, you used to create content and sell it. And then we got to a place where we give content away for free, for attention. And now finally, we're in this place where we can have a value exchange and everybody is compensated for their content, for their attention, for their advocacy, their resale. And so you kind of see how these things are changing while technology is just blazing at a light speed, right? It wasn't that long ago. We were hunkered over 10 fingers on a keyboard with this big, loud, hot box in front of our face. And then it became a small little box. You know, we went to coffee shops. And then we got a phone.
Yeah.
And now it's two thumbs on glass, right? But everybody's kind of like this all the time. And I feel fairly confident that what we're transitioning to is glasses.
Well, we're transitioning. Already doing that, aren't they? Snapchat with the spectacles and stuff like that.
So I've had the specs, and there's obviously some issues with the specs. I had the newest version of the specs. I haven't gotten the new ones yet, but some of the issues with the specs are battery life. Okay. The amount of content you can create. Like there's some things that have to be overcome. Nevertheless, the thought that you could have the computer on your face and that you can just talk to everything, you know, like what's the weather? Boom. And you can whisper it. Like, okay, so let me play out a scenario for you. You're walking, you see a celebrity. You just whisper, zoom in on him and take a picture. Boom. Search the internet to see if there's any paparazzi sites that wants a photo of him. Yes, this site wants a photo, they'll pay $75. This site wants a photo, they'll pay $85. This site wants a photo, they'll pay $55. Okay, just create an NFT and put it on sale for $50 and then promote it. Let somebody else grab it for $50 and resell it so I can get paid on it every single time it's reused. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine that if while you're walking with just getting some exercise, you take a photo with your mouth, with your glasses, you say all that to your system, it creates the NFT, which then spurs on the ability to generate income for you immediately and ongoing. Like these things are phenomenal. Okay, so take another scenario. You're in your car and you see something beautiful. So you jump out and you just say, take a 1 minute time lapse. So you set your glasses down, boom, and it does the time lapse. And you say, okay, upload to Foundation their time lapse page and put my NFT for sale for a 0.01 Ether. I only want $20, but what I really want is I want somebody to like it, buy it, collect it, and then go resell.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So NFTs are creating an opportunity that if we can get really, really fast with content creation, capturing conversations and audio, capturing photographs, videos, time lapses, if we can get really, really good at doing this, ideally with something as easy as just glasses on our face or a watch on our wrist or a ring on our finger, where it's just ready to go. Boom, you point and it's done, right? And then you immediately can just talk to the machine and say, create the NFT inside OpenSea, create the NFT inside Digitable, create the NFT inside Rarible. And it's all done for you because we have the tech enabled to give everybody the immediate internet access to what's on their face, in my mind. So I think this is a lot of where we're going in terms of the speed of creating NFTs and the ability to know what's needed. I mean, I imagine also going down the road and your assistant says to you, hey, just so you know, you're about a quarter mile away from this place and this organization is willing to pay $19 for a photograph of it. You're like, yeah, pull over. Boom. Yeah. And that send it up. And it's all done as a non-fungible token, right? Because it's a one-of-one photograph that you took for the express purpose of getting the $19. The $19 gives that organization non-exclusive commercial rights to use it for 1 month. And then it's removed and you retain ownership because you have a second NFT that is exclusive rights, you know, and so this is the type of thing that can be created. All these things have the opportunity to create value and hierarchy of access and benefit and to automate the entire damn thing so that you and I as content creators never have to chase down, hey, you used this interview with the two of us from NFT Talks. You didn't get my permission. Well, we'll never have to chase people down because everything we create will be an NFT. Mm-hmm. Some things you create will be your NFT. Some things I create will be my NFTs. Maybe this conversation ends up becoming 3 NFTs. One, that we both have the rights to leverage our conversation. And then a separate one that's just the words you say, your transcription, your audio. One is a separate NFT that's just the words I say. So that way I could take the content I say and capitalize on that content, either written or audio, as well as you. So every single time there's a 2-person interview, there's 3 minimum NFTs that are auto-created to be able to capture value from those by bringing that content to the market in a totally different way that's automated and removes all the friction. All the barriers to getting content out gets removed.
Makes total sense. And like I said, I couldn't, explanation wise, like you've covered it. So there's not even a question to ask around that. The only thing before we round it up, Ian, is just 2 quick answer I want for yourself is, what are the bottlenecks now? What would you say is what was going to help the space grow? What are things that are a struggle at this point? I thought there's a lot of things that need sorting, but what would you say the main thing we need to get over in order to help the space grow?
For NFTs, the big bottlenecks, I don't really think there are any, to be honest with you. I think there's just a lot of progress.
I mean, I would say like user experience. I mean, in regards to like that side of it, and also, I mean, I think education is going to be a major thing at this point.
It's all just moving so quick. Yeah, it's all. So I agree with you. You're right. Okay. It's also moving just so quickly that you and I say right now, the biggest problem is that there's not great education. But then by the time this comes out, that is solved. Or we say, the user experience is just horrible. But by the time this is heard by the person that accesses it as evergreen content in 3 months or 3 years, that problem was solved by this organization. So for me, there's so much progress that I think it's less about UI, UX or education or operations or organizations. It's probably my biggest concerns are issues of issues of the heart. So humility versus arrogance, inclusiveness versus this is a special club and you're not part of it. Honesty versus grandstanding. So a lot of my big concerns around NFTs are not like UI, UX issues or tech issues, although I pull my hair out and I want to bang my fist against the wall with some of the technical things that we face. But that's not my biggest concerns. My biggest concerns is, are the people in the industry going to maintain a sense of meekness and gentleness and inclusivity and wanting diversity and wanting to have different voices? Like, how many people are going to help you, Sean, to be successful with NFT Talks? Because that's a really good sign. If a lot of big organizations, if the Consensus and the CoinDesk and the NFT NYC of the worlds do things to help you have success and they're being inclusive and come, a rising tide raises all ships, come, that's a very good sign. But if you feel suppressed by these people, like they won't let you have access to their people to interview them, they won't spotlight you, they won't make room for you, they don't want you well, that's a very bad sign. Okay, because if the people that have authority and power today are trying to maintain that, well, that's a very centralized approach. And that's what we're trying to escape from. So if they're like, come one, come all, come with your questions, there's no bad question. We just want people to jump in to be part of our metaverse, be part of our NFT platform, be part of our cryptocurrency. Like, this is a place where you belong. Because it's not just about the why are we doing this, and certainly not about the what are we doing. It's about the who is doing this and who feels like they can be a part of it too, which is why I brought up Sebastian at Sandbox and Dirk in Upland, because the who is the question to answer before the why are we doing this, and sure as hell is more important than the how are we doing this, or what exactly are we doing?
No, I love the answer. And I totally agree with you. Okay, so a load of value, so much value from this actual podcast. So I'm happy, and I hope the listeners have enjoyed it. One question I'm going to take of what I've learned is to ask you, where do you see the NFT space in the next 10 years. So where do you see it?
In the next 10 years, NFTs should be like running water and light bulbs. It should be like going to the gas tank. Nobody asks where the gas came from, who delivered the gas, how's the gas extracted, how is it made. Like, you just go up to the gas tank, you put your card in, or you scan your card, whatever the hell you do, and you put the thing in and you fill your gas tank with gas. It's really simple. That's how you get your car to move. In the next 10 years, NFTs will just be part of society. Most of the things that we do will create NFTs, and a lot of things that we access will be accessed through NFTs. And NFTs will basically be the big data holders. So this is a huge prediction I have.
Okay.
Right now we have these huge multi-billion-dollar big data companies.
Yes.
I believe NFTs will individually hold the data around the content that they declare ownership over. So that's going to be a very, very helpful thing, is that when you acquire this NFT, you can tell every single person that's ever owned it, every engagement that ever happened, every time it was ever written about, every time, like, all of a sudden this thing that you acquired, it really matters, because here's the proof. Here's the social proof. So NFTs are just going to permeate society. We'll probably stop calling them NFTs. We probably won't call them Nifties. Nobody's going to say non-fungible token one day. We'll just get to where it's an asset, right? It's just an asset. So, like, just like a house has a deed and a car has a pink slip, we'll just have assets that have an NFT, a digital collectible, a crypto collectible, a digital asset, whatever you want to call it, an NFT, a non-fungible token, ERC 721, doesn't matter. But these things will just totally take over of society. You'll walk through a home, and that home will likely have thousands of NFTs associated with every single thing. Like, most likely everything in a home, in a car, in a business, in society will have some sort of tie to what we call NFTs today, to track the engagement and the value of that, and to make the exchange of that item from one person to another. So you walk through a house and you're like, wow, that's such a beautiful sculpture. And the owner says, actually, I don't really want that anymore. Do you want it? Yeah. Well, it's already on OpenSea. And you just say, send the OpenSea link to Bob. And Bob gets it on his glasses and he looks at it and he goes, I totally want that. Yes. The cryptocurrency is exchanged from Bob's account to the homeboy that owns the house. Homeboy that owns the house grabs the thing, hands it to him, and every single time that sculpture goes from one to another, it's all tracked: who owns it, why they owned it, what they paid for it. Yeah. And then they can take that sculpture and create many NFTs of art pieces and collectibles around it. It's up to our wildest imagination what we do with this technology. It's really, 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 really exciting, and it should unlock abundance in the world. NFTs should unlock trillions, ideally hundreds of trillions of dollars of new abundance on an annual level, because the world is not a big pie that there's limited slices and everybody's fighting for a limited pie. The world is like billions of pies stacked, and we've only started to access the top pie. Yeah, there's all of this value that we can create and exchange with one another, to where we really shouldn't have anybody in lack. There should never be a hungry person in 10 years. There should never be an unhoused person in 10 years.
Unless somebody chooses not to do something. Unless you just choose not to do anything.
Totally. But again, even if that's the case, we should have good enough coordination technology with blockchain that even if people choose not to do anything or engage or make things happen, it's very likely that because of the abundance that we're about to unlock, we'll have a universal basic income that'll work for all liberals and all conservatives, and the Conservative Party, the Labor Party, Republicans and Democrats can all come around this idea of like, yeah, let's go ahead and give everybody $3,500 a month or 2,500 pounds a month, because like we just have all this abundance that if somebody doesn't want to do anything, at least they can have a minimal life and keep the economy going. While those that want to build have the opportunity to create massive resource. So I think that we're just about to unlock 99% right? We've like scratched the surface. You have 1% of the world's abundance unlocked through capitalism and centralized corporations and centralized governments. And when we truly decentralize money, government, corporations, communities, and then we start attaching things like non-fungible tokens to it all, we're going to really, our kids are going to be very, very fortunate with the future that they're about to walk into.
I'm going to leave it there with that ending. That's perfect. I mean, I've got kids, so I'm happy to hear their thoughts, and I'm going to do my best to make sure I contribute towards that, and I'm sure you're doing it yourself. It's been amazing speaking to you. Thank you for your time. Is there how can people contact you with regards to socials or whatnot, or even the social links for the Attention Live?
I'm easy to reach. My name's Ian Utile, but it's spelled IANU Tile. So I'm at Ian Utile on every social out there. Our company is attention.live, ATTN.live. And we're on all the major social media sites as well, pretty active on there. And, we are looking for beta users. We're looking for people that want to have us customize and private label our entire technology around their specific needs. So, we want to engage with people. So contact me, contact our company, and we'd like to have a conversation with you and figure out how we can empower you to achieve some of the things that Sean and I have been talking about today.
Perfect. One more thing before I go. What's with the big wheel? You know the big wheel. I seen you do interviews on the big wheel. Where is it? Like, where is it? Are you on it now?
I know. I don't have one up here.
Where is it, man? Like, every time
I ride that one wheel. I've done 2,000 miles, so it's like basically the size of a skateboard, but it's like a motorcycle. So it's it has one wheel in the middle. It goes about 20 miles an hour, and I ride that thing almost every single day during sunrise and sunset. So I'll get up at sunrise, I'll go to the beach, and I'll just jam up and down the cliffs. And then I'll work all day and spend time with my family. Then it's sunset. Okay, go back out to the beach and go.
I've seen you do actual talk on that. I watched the Cred talk where you was on the actual the big wheel, and I was like crazy on stage.
So yesterday I had a Zoom meeting. Yeah. I have 3 guys I'm doing Attention Live broadcasts with. So basically the 4 of us get on Zoom, and then one guy interviews this guy, he interviews him. So like we kind of go in a circle. So I went to the beach yesterday, and I'm on my one wheel for the entire thing. I'm just kind of out at the ocean, and it was pretty fun. But I include the one wheel in all aspects of my life.
All right, that's it. All right, well, thank you again.
Yes,
like I said, hopefully we can connect again further on down the line when a lot more things are happening, because it's a rapid pace. And I like that. It's been a pleasure today, man. So everyone, thank you for listening. Stay listening, stay blessed.